This is the 17th season of Bass Talk Live with your hosts, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrat. BTL is brought to you by Lawrence, Bass Cat Boats, AFCO, Duckett Fishing, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Yamagatsu, The Bass Tank, and Denali Rods. BTL coming at you. Good Tuesday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where Boyd and I are going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. I want to welcome everybody. Boyd, thank you so much for taking time out. First time in a long time you've been on the show, but we have a lot to talk about, man.
A lot to talk about. I have a question, though, before you get started.
Yeah.
Okay, so I notice in your open every week, there's all these really cool pictures. One of them is you in your bass boat out fishing, and then it's Matt in his bass boat out fishing. But Matt swings a fish in his video, and you're just sitting there. So you know, look, man, you're an experienced bass angler. You got a lot of years behind you. Could you not catch one that day, or what happened?
No. You know, I'm like 1 in 8 against him in our annual match. I've only won one time, and
I got it.
It's I get stubborn, and I've talked about it on this show. I like throwing a topwater. I throw a topwater way too much. And the last adventure that we had, the last matchup, I threw a topwater way too long, and he was out dinking and dunking and just absolutely obliterated me. So I'm going to have to come up with a new game plan for 2022.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome.
He just he's the guy out there trying to make it, not me. I'm way past that.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Yep, I'm about past that myself. But I spend all my time working now trying to make professional bass fishing better for guys like Matt.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot to talk about. We got plenty of time, and I know the fans have definitely been waiting for this. We haven't had you on for a while, and I thought it'd be a great idea once the season concluded to get you on and really kind of sum up your thoughts on 2021 and then talk a little bit about 2022. So I want to start off by just kind of opening up the floor and giving the fans your take on MLF's performance in 2021. What are your thoughts, Boyd?
Well, 2021, gosh, man, the year's, run down now, except for the cups. We shoot the cups in the fall. They air first and second quarter of 22, same schedule as always. So that's the only thing left. But, we had a pretty good season, guys. We kind of got – it was a recovery season from COVID. I mean, that's really what 21 was for everybody. It was how can we – we had some activations, we had some crowd interaction, that we had skipped a whole year from. We still ended up having the pressures of COVID. It's just been so crazy not knowing how it's going to be. We had some anglers, contract COVID when we went north. We ended up making a decision to offer the anglers a drop for this season that just to try to be fair to those that did the right thing. We don't want guys, fishing sick with COVID.
Right.
We need you to stay home. That's part of our hope plan in our partnership with Cronky Sports and Entertainment. They have a very well planned out COVID protection program. We adhere to those guidelines, which requires, man, if you've got a temperature, if you're sick, you can't compete. And that may affect someone's requalification, long-term angler of the year points, obviously sustaining in the Bass Pro Tour, not being in that bottom 10 subject to cut. all of those things fall into the point system. So we chose, that was probably the biggest, on the fly issue we had to deal with this year. We were able to fish all of the events, which is way better than the 19 season, when we ended up, getting cut short with so much closing. So, man, it was just refreshing, honestly, to have a complete season, with the exception of having to deal with the event drop for the points. It was a good season, tons of television, tons of live stream. We actually had some substantial live stream rating increases. We continued our path of television ratings. We expanded into some more opportunities with additional network coming in 22. So, thank goodness we got through the year. It's the craziest world we live in, with this COVID thing. And when you try to run public events, and you have to realize well beyond Bass Pro Tour and Pro Circuit, we've got the Toyota Series and Phoenix Bass Fishing League and our high school and college programs. We run 238 public events, man. I mean, it's just quite a challenge to deal with all the different states, all of the regulations, COVID outbreaks. The safety of our participants and our staff are always first. And it just, so man, it just seems like that's it. It seems like that's the topic, all the time. I wish it could be more all about bass fishing. It's all about, COVID or half the season seemed like it was. But I will say as the year tailed down, that seems to be getting back to normal. And so maybe next year, hopefully, will be different.
All right. From a business standpoint, in trying to satisfy the commitments that Major League Fishing had from a sponsorship standpoint, how challenging was 2021 with all of the challenges that most of the companies are having out there in this industry?
There's a lot of challenges for our sponsors in producing product, as most everybody is aware of. There's a tremendous demand for product, but the industry is not selling the volume that maybe the world thinks that it is. What I mean by that, sales are really good, and if you can get product built, it's easy to sell. But the materials that go into baits and rods and reels and boats and motors and all of those things are not available to our industry. So it's not just us using those raw materials. So I think a lot of people feel like, we're just building record numbers of everything and selling record numbers of everything as an industry. And that's not the case because of the shortage of raw materials. A lot of companies actually produced less this year than they did the previous year, simply because they can't get raw materials, can't get deliveries. When you finally do get product built, it's sitting in a container, on a ship line somewhere in the Pacific, or wherever. So, and that's not just a challenge for our industry, but I think maybe a lot of your listeners, don't fully understand that there's a lot of segments of our industry that sold less than and have made less than they did in previous years, simply because lack of being able to get product built.
All right. What has been the feedback in 2021 from the anglers? I know one of the things that you take a lot of pride in, and the staff takes a lot of pride, is the feedback and listening to the anglers. What has been some of the things that have been discussed, and maybe some of the positives and concerns that the anglers have going into 2022 from this year as a result of what took place this year?
Yeah, I think that certainly within our organization, being able to fish more of a natural open series of events, I think that we miss the activation crowds that, we had none in 19, no one did. And then we had some in 20, but a lot of that was restricted, at all levels, all tournament trails. So I think that maybe that's one of the things that's 2 years now burning on these tour pros, that where it's very different than it was in the old days. So that's probably one of the most noticeable differences. I think that the anglers would certainly like to see things get better economically. It's no secret that 2020 was really hard on all tournament organizations, not be able to hold their tournaments, and most of the organizations carried took on additional debt load not planned in their business plan. And that doesn't go away. COVID's a great excuse, but it doesn't make debt go away. So, you still have to manage and deal with that.
Yeah.
But I think that, moving into 22, last week we just had our 22 rollout presentation to all of the Bass Pro Tour anglers. I think that, I don't think I have one negative comment from memory. We have all 80 guys on a big, long, 2-hour Zoom call. We take all questions from all the anglers and do a full presentation of what 22 looks like. And I don't remember a single negative comment. So I think everybody's excited that, we're back rolling again in 22, and hopefully things will seem a lot more normal.
All right. We'll get into Red Crest, because Red Crest is going to take place in March of next year. There was no Red Crest in 2021, but that's kind of going to be a staple event for what you have going on in 2022, and we'll get into that here in a minute. I want to ask you this about 2021. Can you talk a little bit about the feedback and your opinion on the live product itself, and then what are your thoughts about the television product that aired, obviously on all the cable channels, and then the big show that took place in 2021? What are your thoughts, Boyd?
Well, I think that when we launched in 19, we, especially with the live stream product, that was one of the things that we invested so much more money than our industry had in the past. So we have the ability to live stream our product like other sports. At that live stream quality.
Yeah.
We always fight with live stream because a lot of times, it's not on the ESPN side, or it's not on our side, where an individual's computer at their home doesn't have the bandwidth to be able to drive streaming. I wish that there was a way to make that work for everybody, but
right.
Yeah, we don't have any control of that. No different than this show, but yeah, we're really pleased. We've got a great system in place, and got an awesome live stream. So we really like that. And then, like I say, television, we expanded, moving forward, we're going to have some events on CBS Sports in addition to Discovery, Outdoor Channel, Sportsman Channel, CBS Network, with Red Crest, and also Heavy Hitters CBS Network. So, we got more programming than ever. That's, as and that's been the history. A decade ago, it's hard to believe it's been that long, but the creation of Major League Fishing, the driver for me and me and Gary, way back in the beginning, talked about this. It's trying to run a business and create enough money to invest in growing the sport. If it's ever going to change at the professional level, we have to have an audience like other sports have. Even the PGA. Forget about the big bat and ball sports. I mean, we need to move into that category where there's non-endemic money, and it's created through television audience. It's created through impressions and eyeballs. There's no secret to how that works. Our sport has always been very small and insignificant in the mainstream views, and because our fan base is just a very small number by comparison. So over the past 3 years, with the creation of the Bass Pro Tour, we're about 4 times the media platform now than the peak in any time in history. So I'd like that to be 10 times. but we're producing about 4 times more media and impression value than anybody in our industry ever has, prior to Bass Pro Tour. So we're moving forward, on that line, and we need to continue to try to come up with creative television products, ways to show our sport and our game, so that we can have more and more of a fan base. Doesn't have to be participants. It's not that we're trying to create the maximum number of participants. We're just trying to create an audience that will generate the revenue necessary to chase all these great ideas that me and you and everybody else come up with. We're always thinking of great things, but unfortunately it takes a lot of revenue to make any of those dreams come true. So we're still chasing that.
All right. I did receive several emails, and I received one specifically from a gentleman named Andy, and he asked a really good question. He is one of the fans that have, let's just call it, cut the cord, of which his media and his entertainment is primarily driven through the internet. No cable, no satellite, no nothing. He is an MLF fan, but his point is there any plans to create more coverage via the internet rather than television? Because of the fact, in his statement, he is saying, and I think it's been widely publicized and reported, that there are a number of people across the U.S. that are cutting the cord when it comes to cable and satellite. Is that something that MLF is taking into consideration to create more live content than you already have? Because you do have a lot, but you do have some events that are delayed that are specifically made for television. What are your thoughts on that, Boyd?
That's really a great question. And as you can imagine, as a media company, we talk about that on a regular basis. What's going to happen, where is it going to go? It is very clear, and it is no secret, for all of linear delivery, television delivery, all of linear delivery is shrinking on all networks. There's probably a basement to where that number is. We're not sure. I don't think anyone in the television business is certain where that basement is. Yeah. And we also all believe that digital delivery via live stream and on-demand, platforms is probably the future. So I agree with that. The $6 million question is, which of 1,000 choices is the right one? Number one, that's one of the tough ones. And then secondly, how can you create a revenue stream that allows you to afford to be able to do that? So kind of what we've done in a media position and launching Bass Pro Tour is, we know that we want to have the ability to stream to whatever platform becomes popular and whatever platform economically works out. Our goal is break even or better, as it would have to be, no different than any media product. You're not going to stay around long if you spend more than you take in, right?
Right.
Same thing with BTL and Bass Zone or in any business. So that's been the challenge, because there is so much media delivered via streaming at a low cost. It's also low quality for the most part. Not throwing rocks, but there's tons of that. Mm-hmm. But what that's done is, that has fragmented video views so badly that you can't, it's really hard to assemble a large enough audience to have any value for a sponsor. That's the challenge that ESPN has. Forget about Major League Fishing. That's a challenge that ESPN has, for instance, where it's just hard to assemble because there's so much out there, and what you end up with is not a single big enough audience to be valuable to a sponsor to cover the cost of producing and live streaming. So we're in that cycle right now in all of sports delivery, everybody that's in it, of where does it go? and how can we assemble a large enough fan base,
Mm-hmm.
large enough audience, basically, so that it works economically.
All right. I'm going to throw up a screen here, and I think I can pull it up. Let's see here. All right. Can you see that, Boyd?
Yep.
All right. That is one of the coolest things that I think that you have done. And I want to ask you a question. This was actually a video, and I'm not going to show the video. I just wanted to show the page of Marty Robinson after he won the Summit Cup. And it was kind of like a press conference setting. My question is this: to get more and really increase from zero, because I don't think this really exists when this takes place, in 2022, would it be a good idea to have this for the BPT events, of which the fans could actually engage during a live press conference that you have at the conclusion of the final day, to where the fans and media people, and maybe you limit it to a certain number, but they could actually engage and ask questions to the winner directly after his victory? Because I think this was really, really cool. And to do that from a live perspective and capture the excitement, the enthusiasm of winning whatever tournament it is this something that's feasible? And what do you think about this idea? Because I think what you guys did, even though it wasn't live with Marty, was a really cool idea. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that is really cool. We've done that for several years now at the Cup events.
Yeah.
And we've driven it, it's really for the media. And then, sort of what works around that. And what would be cool, I like the idea at the Bass Pro Tour events, but we really do that for the endemic media of our sport beyond ourselves. The plan would be that would be out there. I don't know that you could fit in fan interactive and also handle media questions. I guess if you'll think about, the media interview at the Masters, it wouldn't be successful if you had fans in there as well.
Right.
So it's kind of either or. That's sort of two different things. But the press conference for the media following is a cool opportunity for all of the endemic media outlets to receive their information to run their specific stories. That's kind of what it's built for. I don't know if the live stream numbers for things like that, it's interesting because, we live streamed our post game show the first season at Bass Pro Tour. We've really tried to find ways to live stream at the end of events, primarily with that post game show.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how the fan base falls off. We may go from 400,000, uniques through the day, to 40,000. It's interesting because people don't stay for that, Mark. It's really, it works a lot better when, BTL shows a portion of it and other endemic media outlets. It proves to work there, but it, for whatever reason, doesn't work very well post game for us. So, that I'm curious as to why that is, but the fans don't stick around to watch it.
Yeah. There's a comment on the YouTube comments right now from Brian. He says, live streaming a press conference isn't the solution. No, it wasn't something that needed to be solved. I'm just saying that is a cool element of which being part of the media and a fan also, that I enjoy, and I would enjoy seeing and being able to ask questions to a guy who just won $100,000. Hey, dude, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? So I just think, once again, and I live by the 3 E's. And I remember the deck that you guys put together that John Acosta talked about. You guys are kind of on that same line of educating, entertaining, and engaging. And I just think that's one element. When that comes out, I always think about, well, that would be cool post-tournament, but maybe I'm just selfish from that perspective in being in the media and talking to these guys all the time. It would be a cool way to get that emotion that is there once you just, hoisted that trophy over your head and got $100,000. So just a thought there. A lot of other discussion from fans, Boyd. I received a ton of emails. There's a lot of comments on the YouTube comments, and I want to move on to 2022 now, and some of the changes, if any, some of the improvements. Just kind of tell us what your thoughts are going into 2022, and then we'll address some questions as far as 2022 is concerned. So what are your thoughts on 2022?
Well, we just did a big rollout about a week ago, so that's we've got a lot of fun and exciting stuff coming in 22. So like I said, it's we're working to improve our activations. We're certainly hopeful that that this crazy COVID world, that will lighten up and make, fans comfortable to come back out again. So that's one of the changes. We really want to have in-person meetings at our events. Gives a chance, at all levels, gives a chance for the anglers to get together, gives a chance for the sponsors to have a chance to be around their anglers, which is important to them and should be important to us as well. So that's coming. We have a great schedule. You've seen the schedule. I think Michael went over the schedule with you, and and I was just reviewing that before our all angler meeting last week, and it's set up so that our anglers can fish, all 9 of our Bass Pro Tour events, including Red Crest and heavy hitters, as well as fish the Pro Circuit events. And that schedule has been built out. This will be the best year yet, man. For the John Cox and all the John Cox wannabes, everybody that wants to fish. It's pretty cool to have. I think we have maybe 18 events that's available, to a Bass Pro Tour angler. So you can get, as much or all of it as you want to get. So it's really awesome that Michael and Chris Hoover and the rest of Michael's team were able to get that schedule built out as well as it is. So that's fun. We're going to a lot of Great Lakes, going to some new places, that we haven't been to before, that Busey Break, and over in Louisiana. I'm really anxious to see that. There's never been a major tournament there, and some of our other locations. So that's some of the new stuff for 22. I will tell you that we're working on a specialty event that's going to be super cool. Working on some details now, trying to close that with a sponsor. I can't disclose the whole thing, but this is going to be a super fun, for the fans, super fun event, just a specialty event. We'll talk some more maybe next time on the show about some of the details of what that looks like, but that's fun and exciting. So we have that coming. That'll be new.
All right, hang on a second real quick. Is this something that has been done in the professional game before that you can recall? Never been done.
Never been done. Leave it up to us. We love to do stuff that's never been done. So this is really cool. It's a cool dynamic, and I promise you the fans are gonna love it because you've never seen anything like this. So
okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk more about that later. Now, Boyd, you mentioned the schedule, and probably the number one question that I received from fans prior to this interview was, why did MLF schedule on top of the Bassmaster Classic? And a lot of people want to know. What would your response be to that?
Yeah, and I've heard that question, last year as well. I think it turned out that we didn't. And then I think Bass did a reschedule and ended up on top of it or put it down where ours was open. But, basically, Mark, we don't look, when we run our business, we don't look out there to where other people's events are. We run more events than anybody in the industry. I think we represent about 75% of tournament fishing. The Major League Fishing Organization does. We have 238 bass tournaments. We have 20 plus professional bass tournaments. And we just it's all we can do to run our business using the calendar. So we just go do it. We put everything hopefully at the best locations at the best time of the year. And we're just not in a position to look at what other leagues may or may not do, what their time frames are. We're not going to look. So we just go, man, just try to run it.
All right. One of the other questions that I have been bombarded with is fantasy fishing. A lot of fans out there want fantasy fishing. Is there anything that you could say about 2022 when it comes to fantasy fishing for MLF?
I can say something about fantasy fishing. You asked me that last year, and yeah. I told you how hard it's been, to build out the fantasy fishing program. The sponsors needed to move around it. It's very costly to run that operation, as you know. But I will announce that we will have fantasy fishing in 2022. We're super excited about that. So we've got a great relationship that we're building with Valley Interactive, part of the Bally's Corporation. We've got some really cool stuff we're working on. One of them is the fantasy fishing. The guys are going to love it. It's going to be similar to what you're used to, but a little bit different, a little more sophisticated. So really, really excited about getting back to fantasy fishing. I know the fans love that. We've also got a product called our Predictor game, which is a little different than fantasy fishing. We'll be releasing some details on how that works, but there's prize packages available. And that's something, that we're also working with Bally's Interactive. So as you can see, we've got some cool stuff. We've got some cool partnerships being formed, but fantasy fishing will be back, and as well as this Predictor game, and as well as hopefully some more things coming in the future that we're currently working on. So a lot of great movement finally in the category that you're speaking about.
All right, very cool. Several people want to know, will MLF venture into the kayak game from a tournament perspective?
We've talked a lot about that. No decision has been made where to go. I know that, kayak fishing has grown and grown. I personally really like kayak fishing. I have a kayak in my house. I actually fish out of it sometimes on Lake Gunnersville. Stay close to the house because I'm too lazy to paddle too far. But I think it's an emerging portion of our sport, and so we have to keep an eye on it. We're not prepared yet. We have launched so much in the last 2 or 3 years, as you're aware of. But it's definitely on the radar as a possibility. I'll leave it at that. It's kind of like maybe you asking me about fantasy fishing last year.
Yeah. All right. Let's do this, Boyd. I have a couple of very interesting questions from fans here I want to get into, but we need to take a break. So we'll take a short break and come back with Boyd Duckett here on a Tuesday. So everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Elite FS puts the full range of Lowrance fish finding tools at your fingertips. Find fish with active imaging 3-in-1 with Fish Reveal. Target fish with active target live sonar and watch fish react to your lure as it happens. Built-in C-Map Contour Plus charts make it easy to find key fishing areas. But best-in-class charts and powerful sonar is only the beginning. It's easy to build your fully networked FS system. From sonar and waypoint sharing to controlling the Ghost trolling motor and power poles. Lowrance Elite FS. Targeting fish just got easier.
Basscat's legendary 20-foot platform has been paired with angler-approved accessories for 2021. Puma FTD features the proven hull used by many of the top names in bass fishing today, backed by a transferable lifetime warranty. The Puma FTD boasts a full team deck concept which enhances efficiency for you and your tournament partners. Turnkey tournament-winning performance. The Puma FTD SP from Basscat.
I've been living on the water for over 20 years.
For 14 years.
For over 23 years.
I've worn a bunch of different clothing brands over the years.
Some companies big.
And some companies small.
All of them said they were making clothing for us.
But none of them knew us.
None of them were us. Except for one.
Except for one.
Except one.
AFCO.
AFCO.
AFCO. AFCO.
Fishing isn't part of us. It is us.
Everyone, Brandon Polnick here. People always be asking me what I got tied on. And I'm like, X-Zone Lures. And they're like, Brandon, why you got X-Zone Lures tied on? And I'm like, let me show you why.
The bite.
Get out of there. Get out of there. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's freaking big. Get in here. Oh, God. Giant. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
I think you get the point.
Pro-inspired, pro-designed, tested and proven by legends on the water, dominating the tournament trail for over 50 years. Everything you need, one legendary brand. Strike King.
Hey guys, Major League Fishing Pro, Jacob Wheeler here with my new Signature Series line of rods with Duckett Fishing. We have my 7.2 cranking rod right here. Crankbaits can be very fickle, and having the right, having a lot of tip can be too much, and having not enough tip can, lose a lot of fish. So you really got to be careful. If there's one or two techniques that I'm really adamant about having the perfect action as a crankbait, especially like the square bill, a DT6, those medium running crankbaits in the springtime when those fish's mouth are pretty tough. That's when I'm really on top of having my actions just perfect. There's one.
You know what works. Now you need a bunch of them so you don't run out on your next fishing trip. The Big Bite Pro Packs feature 25 baits per pack at a price far below that of having to buy 5 packs of regular baits. Now the Pro Pack has a big brother, the Mega Pack. The Mega Pack features 100 of your favorite baits.
With these, one bag is usually plenty to get through the day. It helps me stay organized, helps me save money, helps me catch more fish.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
All right, we are back on a Tuesday with our special guest, Boyd Duckett. And Boyd, I've got a couple of questions from fans that I want to get to now. One, really interesting. This is from a longtime viewer, listener, Matt in Alabama. And his question is this. He says, the theater chain AMC is looking for other events to play on the big screens. The CEO of AMC has mentioned showing esports or UFC fights at multiple locations of AMC theaters. Has MLF ever reached out to AMC or any other theater chain to allow fans to watch their events at their locations? What are your thoughts, Boyd?
Well, I think if we could pull a deal like that off, I think it'd be fantastic because it's more exposure, hopefully to a new fan base, to continue to build the fan base. That's our big goal. What you run into, guys, and I don't know specifically on that answer. That's one that would, probably a phone call would be due to check on that. But most of these opportunities, it's interesting because I think that our fan base in the fishing business at times doesn't realize how small we are by comparison to other sports. That is. That's my motivating driver that pushed my energy to Major League Fishing and creation of the Bass Pro Tour, all this network we talk about, all this media buy that we talk about. It's all in an attempt to try to grow the sport of bass fishing and the audience of bass fishing. Participation is different than audience, okay? Yeah. So look at a deal like the AMC deal, and I don't know specifically on that. but we've certainly tried to capture other audiences like that, and it's generally cost prohibitive because of just our audience size. You know, where UFC, you know, that has, you know, they'll have pay-per-view with several million people on a pay-per-view. So you see the revenue that generates. You know, at the way back in the old days, we had, when Major League Fishing, when the Cups first came out, we had some pay-per-view product, and we'd have like 35,000 or, you know, or 25,000.
Yeah.
You know, so the problem, guys, is just revenue. Those are all great ideas. If we had a big enough audience or a big enough fan base for our sport, you know, we're all immersed in it. It's important to us, but that's been the driving thrust especially over the past 5 or 6 years, with all of the investment in media, is to grow our audience, where we have the opportunity to run, you know, potentially some pay-per-view specials that are, you know, great for branding of professional bass fishing. You know, maybe this AMC deal, some of these network live stream deals. We have to be big enough for it to matter. Otherwise, it just turns out to be a big cash loser. That's generally what gets it, is by the time you structure the business deal, it comes at a loss, you know, and it needs to at least come at a break even. So that would be my, you know, reaction to that. And I have chased a dozen more opportunities similar to that. And that's the wall that I run into. So, you know, please understand that, man, we want to be every place we can be, but, you know, there is no godfather of cash that pays for all this stuff, you know.
Right.
You know, the business has to pay for it, and that makes it tough.
All right. How challenging is it when you position the Major League Fishing brands to ad agencies? Because a lot of times when you're working with non-endemics, that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with outside companies that are in charge of their media buys. How difficult is that to get them to understand what this product is, Boyd?
Well, it's not difficult for the agencies. I wouldn't use the word difficult. I understand your question, because it is what it is. One of the fallacies of selling sponsorship is that it has to do with the idea or a great salesperson or a great pitch. And sponsorship sales and media sales are clearly defined. They're quantified. They have a clearly defined value. That's it. And it's based on impressions. It's based on eyes. It's based on audience. Okay.
CPMs.
It's clearly defined. That is our anchor in our sport. So no matter how great the idea is, to an agency, which is going to represent the money of a non-endemic in most cases, you are stuck at a value based on your audience size and your impression value. So that's it. So if you're going to truly grow our sport, you know, which our sport prior to Major League Fishing did very little investment to do that. Our sport from 1969 to 4 years ago pretty much lived within the core fan base of participants. That's really all we have, is the core fan base of participants. So, you know, we have over the past 4 or 5 years invested, you know, millions of dollars, frankly, out to audiences beyond that small core base, to try to make it to where when we sit in front of that agency, we can produce an audience with a rating size large enough to demand a larger dollar, then that you can then reinvest to go bigger and go bigger and go bigger. That is the core principle of what we're trying to achieve at Major League Fishing. That's what we got in it for. So, you know, so that's kind of a long answer, but it is important that you know, your listeners and all fans, because, hey, I'm the biggest fan of the sport there is, man. But there is the reality of who we are and where we sit, And if you ever wonder why we do the things we're doing, it's for that very purpose. It's to make that number larger. How big is your audience? How much is it worth? And what do I have to do to make it be 10% bigger, and next year 10% bigger, and the year after that? That's how you grow a sport.
All right. I received several emails once again on this subject about whether or not or can you explain to the fans why the pro circuit does not allow the 10 highest non-BPT professionals into the BPT, and how that whole structure is supposed to work from a perspective of giving the Tackle Warehouse Pro Tour anglers an opportunity to make the BPT.
Right. And that let me give that explanation, because it is designed just the way you ask it, that there is an opportunity for the top 10 anglers in the Angler of the Year points at the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit to advance to the Bass Pro Tour. And every year, those 10 anglers the 10 anglers that finish in the top 10 in points will earn a berth. Probably the question is generated by there's some double qualification where some of the Bass Pro Tour guys fish both sides, which we designed to be able to do that. And they've taken up a few of those places. That doesn't make additional places because you either finished in the top 10 or you didn't. It is really the easy explanation to that. So the next question probably would be, why wouldn't you go down the list, 11, 12, 13, to take them?
Right.
Because the Bass Pro Tour is designed for the largest brands, individual angler brands in the sport. They were handpicked originally 3 years ago based on their brands in an attempt. We just got through having this long conversation about how we want to try to grow the audience of the sport, and we want to have the largest brands available to do that. From a business perspective, that's what every sport does, right? Mm-hmm. So we want the new greatest anglers in the world to come in, and 10 slots is a lot available. But we're not just trying to replace brands just to do it. Okay. We want to replace brands with guys that will be able to have an equal or greater brand value. And so you got to qualify to make it, man.
So in 2022, then, the top 10 finishers on the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit, those 10 individuals will get an invitation to fish the BPT then, correct?
Yeah, just like 21.
Okay.
21, 10 individuals. The top 10 guys in points in 21 got an invitation to BPT. That will happen every year, 22, 23, 24.
All right. And then is there some kind of 2-year average, 3-year average, 5-year average for the BPT guys? What's the scoop on that?
So when we make our cut, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So on the Bass Pro Tour, I don't know if we have discussed this in the past or not. So the top 65 make it. Okay. And there's 80 guys in Bass Pro Tour.
Okay.
The top 65 guys automatically requalify. The next 5 places come from the group that is cut. That's 15, right?
Mm-hmm.
So of those 15, we reshuffle them based on lifetime AOI. We do that again. The purpose in that is protect those brands. If Kevin Van Dam has a bad year and finishes below 65th, we want his brand in the Bass Pro Tour. He's a great angler, greatest of all time. It's pretty obvious, why we want him in it, why he should be in it. So that is the safety net to protect that. So 66 through 70th comes from a lifetime AOI of those 15 anglers. Then the bottom 10 are subject to cut. to make room for the new 10 coming in from the pro circuit.
Okay.
That's how it works.
All right. Now, can you talk a little bit about, because there's a lot of perception out there with a lot of the fans that there is a mass exodus taking place with guys that are unhappy with Major League Fishing and they want to go do whatever, fish something else, or just get out of it, or whatever they decide to do. Can you kind of give the fans an indication that, 95, 99%, pretty much everybody's coming back, and that is just a misperception of what the fans think?
That sounds like a social media thing.
Yeah, well,
crazy social media thing.
I would rather clear the air and have it come from the source.
Yeah, I don't know of any of our anglers that aren't tremendously excited about the 22 season, and I have zero that have declined to fish next season. So it's everybody's happy to be there and can't wait for the next season.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Red Crest in 2022. What can you tell the fans, kind of give them an indication of what this event is going to be like at Grand Lake in the month of March?
Yeah, man, we're really excited about that. Like you mentioned earlier in the show, we had a Red Crest. I mean, we still have the event. We had a $300,000 winner. Dustin Cannell, won the event, obviously. But we weren't able to have our expo built around Red Crest. And due to COVID restrictions, we had it planned at the time of the year that our sponsors want us to hold the Red Crest, which is, in that late February to mid-March time frame is when the sponsors want these giant expos to take place. So hopefully, we said earlier, we're past this crazy COVID thing. We can have this big event. We're super excited about it. We've got some really cool plans. Unlike what professional fishing has been like in the past, our game is real time. That's one of the big changes that Major League Fishing brought to the space, and so ours is an expo, a giant watch party. We're going to have jumbotrons. We're going to follow the game. It's going to be very game interactive. More of a tailgate feel. And I think that the world is going to really be impressed with what Red Crest looks like. We'll also have a post-game show, following the event each day, at the Expo Center. So we're trying to figure out, how to airlift the guys or whatever we got to do to get them there, quickly after the event ends. So, working through the details of that. But we're really excited about our outdoor show. It's going to be different than some of the other expos, a lot more fan interactive. A lot of our sponsors, we want to appreciate our fan base that comes. We're assembling tons of free product and giveaway product. We want people to come to the Red Crest and it be a cool deal. So we've asked our sponsors to participate with us in product giveaways. We have just thousands, of product giveaways. We expect that it will be one of the coolest outdoor shows you've ever attended. So I'm so excited to finally have it. We had all this planned, for 21 and couldn't have it. So you can imagine we're all chomping at the bit to go have this first Red Crest in 22, and so the world can see what it's all about. It's very different. It's really cool.
All right. Several fans want to know, what do you think MLF is going to look like in the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a good question, man. I ask myself that pretty often, I've talked a lot today about what the long-term vision is and what our sport needs to do. Okay. And our sport, professional bass fishing, we need to come together. We need to unify to push the sport in one direction. And we need to build a fan base, guys. It doesn't have to be participants. All right. we'll have plenty of participants and we'll have additional participants. But what we don't have that we all as fans of the sport dream of is we don't have as big an audience as other sports have. And so that's a lot of our long-term plans at Major League Fishing. As you can see, I mentioned earlier, this dream is becoming a reality right in front of our eyes. We have, 4 times the media platform than we've ever had. Mm-hmm. That's a big, that's a 400% improvement from the past. I would like that to be 20 times bigger. That's the only way that we can move the needle and be in all of these things, all of these ideas that we've heard today and things that we think of within our organization. That's the only way that we can make those things happen. The sport of competitive bass fishing is super exciting. It's super competitive. It's fun to watch if it's filmed correctly so that you can feel yourself be part of the sport. It's real time now. So you know what's going on, and what you see is the truth. The scoreboard's active, it's live. Excuse me. We've done a lot of those things that have to be done to make our sport be appreciated by others. And we have expanded to non-participating audience. I would say of that expansion, that I've talked about, probably half of that expansion are non-participants that watch our sport now. And for all of us that enjoy watching professional bass fishing, that's a cool thing, because that will produce the revenue through non-endemic sponsorship that will allow us to get bigger, have bigger events, have more grand events, offer all the things that our fan base is asking for. It'll produce a revenue stream to allow us to accomplish that. So, that's the long time goal, man. And I'm on it 365 days a year, along with the rest of the team at Major League Fishing. And it's a mountain, but we're knocking off a boulder at a time, man. It's happening faster than you realize.
All right. What about engaging the anglers and bringing the Major League Fishing format to the lower level events? What's been the progression of that to get, some of the local and regional, small clubs, trails, whatever you want to call it, to engage in that program that you established several years ago? And kind of what do you think the future holds for getting more people to fish in that format?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that is one of the big separators from basically catch, weigh, release, the catch, weigh, release format, and live leaderboard at levels other than Bass Pro Tour.
Yeah.
Right. That's really the question. And I've told you over the past year or so that is something that I know that the fan base wants. I mean, every place I go and tournaments that I attend and tournament anglers that I talk to, everybody would like to have the opportunity to do that. We can do that at a lower level, using our score tracker system. You still have to enter it into your phone, and so there's a lot of tournament trails running that, but we are working with a partnership with another company designing what will become the electronic official. So that's well on its way. It's a very expensive investment to create the technology necessary, in the millions of dollars. And, we've been on that for longer than a year now. So you will see that come, as soon as practical and possible. But we're 110% working on that technology that will allow everyone to be able to do catch, weigh, release, full score tracker, full scoreboard instantly, just like we do at the Bass Pro Tour. It's coming. So I can say clearly, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's coming. It's expensive and it's timely, but we're knee deep in it. We're neck deep in it. So there you go.
All right, because the people that I've spoke with is, I went around. That's one of the subjects that seems to come up over and over. When is that expansion going to take place? Where's it going to be? A year from now, 2 years from now, what can we expect? And that's kind of the response that you just said as far as where people can look for that situation to evolve. And so much of this stuff, and tell me this, Boyd, what, you guys have been around now 11 years? Is that right?
Yeah, actually 10 years. So we've been around
10
11, but programming's been on the air 10 years.
Okay. So it's your 10-year anniversary, and I'm curious, is this the point that you thought when you started this thing out 10 years ago that you would be at the point you're at right now 10 years later? And is everything pretty much going according to plan? And I know that's tough to answer because of the COVID situation, but when you look at the entire entity, are you at where you wanted to be when you started this thing and now 10 years later?
When you start a business, you're not always sure where it's going. You have dreams and aspirations. Having built businesses in so many different industries, I can tell you that the straight and narrow path that your business plan has turns into 1,000 winding roads. Okay? Everybody that's listening that owns a business has experienced that. So somehow through that maze, you try to keep your eye on the ball, continue to grow vertically. So we've experienced the normal and a lot of things, even COVID and all the other setbacks. I am not at all disappointed with where we are. I'm very satisfied with where we are. The ultimate dream would be that one day the industry works as one league. This is just me, okay? Mm-hmm. Because we are small. We've talked about that today. Even though we're 4 times bigger than we've ever been, right? Mm-hmm. So we got a lot to be proud of. And we have live stream at a level that is ESPN level. And I mean, we've accomplished tons, guys, and we are way up the road from where we were. But we're still a long way from competing with other sports equal to us. So we do have a long way to go, but we are on a good path for that to happen. And so I'm not disappointed in any way. And you just continue to work, building a business, I say this a lot, especially to my management team, it's a rock mountain. When you're a pioneer, the definition, what the definition of a pioneer is? That's the guy with the arrows in his back. Okay. They get way too much credit, a pioneer, but it's a mountain, and you just move a rock at a time, and it takes resolve to get there. One of the things that would help our industry is if we could all come together so that we collected our resources and pushed to grow our sport, especially from the top level of visibility to a fan base. Because that's the only way to bring the revenue into our sport to help. And it helps so many ways. It's not just selfishly for professional fishing. It helps because we actually get an expansion for the industry and participation, no doubt. But we also get revenue dollars that are needed for like our fisheries management division. We launched that last year. And there aren't enough millions of dollars that I would like to see so that we can have a positive impact on our sport. It's no different than the catch, weigh, release, live score tracker events. Obviously, they're super cool to fish, and I think everybody would love to be part of a tournament where you can look at your phone and see where you are every minute of the day, right? All right, that's a cool. But in a more important probably than that is the positive impact that has for our fishery. And also the fact that with more of us having awareness of competitive bass fishing, it makes a higher number of the population aware of bass fishing. Why is that good? Well, in our political structure, the way our government works, large constituency bases are effective. So for all of us that love to fish, don't think that it is an indefinite resource. It's not an infinite resource. And so, as the sport grows and the revenue grows, it gives us money to be able to lobby for things that will matter, not just for us, but for our kids and our grandkids. That is a big part of of my motivation as this sport expands. We need to take care of the fisheries. There's no reason our fisheries, Mark, can't be better in the future than they have been in the past. Now think about what I just said, because we've had some great fishing in the past, but our fisheries can be better in the future than they have been in the past. I mean, that's an awesome, and that should be our goal. That is our goal at Major League Fishing Fisheries Management Division. And Stephen Barden and Gary Klein, that's one of Gary's passions. And him and Stephen work hard on that, specifically on that. But we want to be able to help work with the states and make that dream come true. And we are doing things that are making a difference there. So that's another big benefit from our sport growing and generating revenue streams, so that we can always do this, guys. And And you got to think about those things. You just can't selfishly use the resources without replenishing them.
All right. Speaking of revenue, and before I ask this next question, I want to let Andy know over on the basshone.com comments. Andy, those questions, the answers were actually addressed earlier in the interview. So if you need to go back, listen to the first part, and you'll get answers to the couple of questions that you have on the live feedback over on basshone.com. All right. Revenue-wise, there's been discussion. It's been a topic. The entry fees, no entry fees, back to no entry fees, and then now we're having entry fees. I mean, what can you talk about that, Boyd, and what has been the response back from the anglers based upon the tough decisions that were made to go forward into 2022?
Well, that's age-old deal. It ties into everything we talked about. I mean, it would be great if we could have the payouts that we have at Bass Pro Tour, or the payouts we have at the Elite Series available to professional anglers or the pro circuit anglers, without entry fees, but it's not economically possible. We can have no entry fees. Okay. Because obviously the entry fees are only a portion of what gets paid out, but the majority of our anglers like the entry fees because they want to fish for more money. I mean, that's just basically what drives that. At the end of the day, we could fish no entry fees. We just fish for less.
Right.
It seems like a great aspiration, but for the league to be able to, to put up the $7.7 million that we put up in payout, we've got to do better, guys. Sports got to grow. Everything we talked about today has to happen. Media platform has to grow. We have to have a larger audience. We have to have more revenue from non-endemic sponsors. I'd love to see us get there one day, to be able to, have a $10 million season payout and not pay entry fees, but it's going to take a lot of revenue to get there. So that's what the entry fees are. They're not required. The league doesn't care, right? I mean, it's just whether or not you want to fish for a little bit or a lot.
And the vast majority of the anglers, I mean, that's the response was, hey, we want to fish for more money.
We'll
And
fish
to
for
do
more
that,
money.
and to
So
do
we
that,
want to do what we always did. We want all the money you guys are putting in, plus we want some more. So we're going to put up entry fees so that we're fishing for $7.7 million.
All right, there you have it. Now, what do you think the biggest challenge in 2022 lies ahead for you and the organization, Boyd?
That's a good question. I guess for us, one of our biggest challenges is just to hold the course. I think that we have a good tournament, multiple tournament circuits. They are working. We got a tremendous number of anglers, about 20,000 unique individuals fish with us. A little over that, almost 21,000 this year. But I think that continuing to be able to offer more to all of those tournament trails is an economic challenge that we face year over year, and trying to find a way to create revenue streams that allow us to bring dollars in to the company to make it better. I don't think, it's not hidden. Certainly all the professional anglers that know me certainly know that I'm motivated. My time and energy to build and grow Major League Fishing is not monetarily driven. I have other companies that I certainly didn't get in the tournament business to make money. Okay, so what drives you to do that? What has driven me in the effort that I have put out has certainly been to try to find a way to make tournament fishing be a better place, for high school anglers and college anglers and weekend anglers and Toyota Series anglers and Pro Circuit anglers and Bass Pro Tour anglers. And so that's the motivation, how can we continue to evolve with a business plan that grows our space and makes our space more valuable to our sponsors, which are our revenue streams, so that we can afford to do more to make tournament fishing better for the rest. That's the goal. So 22 carries that same long challenge of trying to better that, year over year, trying to better that. I will say that there's no change in our ownership or management team in that view or that daily recognition of what we're all here for. The team understands that we are here to try to make it better for those that participate in tournament fishing. We get up every day and try to find a way to do that. It's an economic challenge to run a business in this space and be able to make all of those changes that we want to make. But there again, it goes back to the Rock Mountain. If year over year we can knock another boulder down and we can find a way to make it a little better, and the year after that find a way to make it a little better. That's what we live for. That's what we do.
All right, man. Well, we've been going here for about an hour and 15 minutes, and I appreciate you taking time out. Looking forward to the season. You guys are going to some new lakes in 2022, some places that you haven't been to before and haven't been to for a while. So I'm interested to see how that's going to develop, and then very interested to see the outcome of Red Crest. So that's got to be a priority next year, is it not, Boyd? Red Crest?
That's a priority now, man. You have no idea how many meetings we have on Red Crest. It's our first one, and we don't want to screw it up. How about that?
Yeah.
You do something big like that for the first time, it's a lot to worry about.
Yeah. So do you have a title sponsor for the BPT next year? Is Bass Pro Shops still involved? Can you comment on that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's the Bass Pro Tour, man.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a great relationship and a great appreciation for Bass Pro and Johnny Morris. We've talked about that in the past. Johnny's personally has a great passion for the sport of bass fishing. He supported us well. We have We have a long-term contract with those guys, and hopefully they're still pleased. We're pleased, and they are as well. So, yeah, man, it's the Bass Pro Tour, and don't have any plans for that to ever change.
All right, a couple more things, and then we'll let you go, Boyd. One of the things, once again, man, perception is a hard thing to overcome. It doesn't matter what you do, business, education, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. I want you, if you can, to talk about the perception that Major League Fishing is holding all the anglers and keeping them rather than allowing them to do whatever they want to do. They can fish and do and go and really do whatever they please. They have a choice rather than the perception that they're locked down and can't do anything else. Yes or no?
Yeah, I would absolutely. I'm kind of trying to understand the question. I mean,
well, there's a lot of people that say, and people have said it, in many aspects, that the guys are handcuffed, that the anglers don't want to be there, but they have no other choice. Well, that's not the case. The vast majority of these guys, they can do whatever they want to do and fish whatever they want to fish. They choose to be a part of that organization, be it MLF. True or not true?
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, I hear you. I see you now. Yeah, I haven't. Yeah. I'm not sure where that perception would come from. I mean, professional anglers, year over year have an opportunity to chase whatever leagues they want to fish, whatever they want to do with their lives, what they do as a professional angler. All we can do is provide a platform that hopefully is their best opportunity. We certainly believe we have done that. We have 80 guys at the Bass Pro Tour that certainly believe that we've done that because it's where they want to be, and we've got 150 guys at the pro circuit that want to be part of it, and they believe we've done that as well. So, anglers, they do whatever's best for them and their family is certainly what I support. But we get up every day and try to build the best platform available for a professional angler, and I think we've accomplished that.
Yeah. All right, man. Once again, thank you so much, and I'd really like to have you on again, maybe in January or February before the season kicks off, and just kind of get an update on some of the stuff that we talked about, get an update on Red Crest, and just kind of progress down the road and see what this journey continues to be like. And it's really kind of bizarre to me that 10 years has flown by and you've been doing this gig for 10 years.
I know it, man. And, 10 years ago, Gary Klein and I were able to convince a handful of people from the Outdoor Channel and to show up and film an event at Lake Amistad. And we had no idea, if anybody'd even watch it. So how about that? From way back then, lots changed since then. But, hey, before we jump off, I'm going to mail you this, but I wanted to show you first because I know what a giant fan you are.
What are you doing now?
This is the BD110 Super Sound, which is a new top water bait that I have. And listen to this. Can you hear that?
That's pretty loud.
Dude, this is the loudest, why it's called the Super Sound. This is the loudest top water bait I've ever thrown, and I'm crushing them, man, this fall on that bait, and I'm going to mail you this one.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, I'm going to mail it to you. You can go out and fish with it.
All right. Hey, can you take it out of the package?
Yeah.
I want to see it out of the package.
It's yours. So this thing is so cool, man. Like when you make a long full cast with a walking bait, while it's way out there, you can hear it.
Wow.
See?
That's pretty loud.
Yeah.
Shake it now. Shake it. Yeah, that's pretty loud. Well, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I'm a topwater freak. That's all I ever throw.
Hey, man,
that's
I know
all.
You're a topwater freak, and this is my new favorite topwater, and I'm going to send you one. We just got them in.
Very cool. They finally came in off the boat, huh?
Finally, man. Finally. Golly, we've got container loads of fishing rods that are anchored out. They've become a fish structure or something. Just waiting.
Wow.
It's so crazy trying to get product shipped. It's
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Yep.
That it is. Well, thank you. I'll look forward to that. And here shortly, I'd say within the next week or two, obviously depending on basketball, I'm actually going to try and get out and do a little fishing because it's my favorite time of the year. I love fall fishing. I like fishing all the way into the month of December, and you can have some killer days during the fall when that water temp gets down in the upper 50s, kind of mid 50s. That's when things really get going around here. So,
man, it's good. I love Grand in the fall. Hey, do you remember here 4 or 5 years ago, you made it to Guntersville in the fall, and we went and caught schoolers?
I remember that. Yeah,
that was a fun trip.
That was really, really cool. And the thing about that is you could actually see them. There was clarity in the water enough to where you could see it like a Polaris missile was getting ready to attack your bait. They were that aggressive.
Yeah.
It was a blast. That was cool. Does it get like that again? Have you had days like that before?
It has. Guntersville, it's no secret. I've talked about it on the show before. Guntersville was off the chain good from like 2000 to 2016. And we had an LMVV virus and we lost a lot of the fish. Then they came back, but they just didn't bite for a long time. They didn't bite right. But this summer, they turned the corner. And they started biting again, and it's been good ever since. Man, they school every day now.
Wow.
I mean, I drive by around town on the bridges. You see them out there schooling. So Guntersville's back good again, and it's it's been a while. We had a tough 2 or 3 years where it wasn't very good here. The weights were down. But I don't think we have as many big fish yet as we used to have. A lot of them died.
Yeah.
But we've got a ton of 1.5 pounds to 4.5. A lot of those fish.
All right. It's fun to catch, especially when they're schooling, man.
Heck yeah. It's good, man.
All right, Boyd. We will touch base here very soon, and then we will get you back on at the first part of 2022. And wish you guys nothing but the best. And we'll look forward to a lot of interesting events that are going to take place for Major League Fishing in 2022, specifically Red Crest here in my home state and at Grand Lake. So very excited about that. Have a great fall break, and thanks again for taking time out. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Always a pleasure, Mark.
All right, folks, so that's going to wrap up today. I need to get the bumper music queued up. Here we go. All right, that's going to wrap up today. Remember, we did 2 shows yesterday, and we had a special show last night with Rick Pierce and a lot of studs on the West Coast to talk about what's going on out there with a big event that's planned in the West Coast. So if you didn't listen to that, make sure you check that out or watch the replay. And then tomorrow we're back with Frank, Uncle Frank, day 4, number 40 with the man. So make sure you check that out, and we will see what Uncle Frank has to say tomorrow on day 4. That's it, Boyd. Take care. We're out of here.
See you guys.